Hey, Jeff.
Hey, so we don't really have much on the agenda today. I guess we can just go through blockers.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I had a couple of questions about the epic, about hang on, let me see what it's called. The observability and troubleshooting epic. I was hoping to just get a brief view on, and also whether how we want to go about getting the API epics probably set up and ready, or what do we want to pick up next? I guess is probably the better question.
Sure, yeah. Maybe give another minute or two for Scarbeck to join, unless if he already declined. Oh, there he is. He's like in a rave right now. Glow sticks now. We saw like some strobing light there for a second, Scarbeck.
I could go back to it.
Yeah, I want to see you dance.
There we go.
I don't dance.
Looks trippy.
I wonder what this camera looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what happens when the laptop lid is closed.
I see. So, good morning. We were just saying how we don't really have much on or anything really on the agenda today, so we're just going to go through blockers. And Amy wanted to talk about the monitoring epic and also discuss what's going to happen next for API. So let's do it. I'll share my screen. So right now we're all waiting to see the result of the generator pattern for traffic splitting. I pinged Jason yesterday on this. I swore I did. Maybe it was on the issue and not the MR.
Yeah, it was on the issue. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, to ask if maybe we can help out by doing some testing before we merge. He didn't like my comment. I didn't even get a heart or anything. So
he was
maybe
sleeping 5 hours ago.
That's fair. That's fair. So maybe if I get a heart or a thumbs up or something later, that'll make me feel good, and also it'll help probably so we can test this out. Cool. Unified structure logging. This becomes a big issue for the front end. We decided it wasn't a blocker for GitLab shell. It looks like Robert is still owning it, and let's just check out one of these issues here. So
Jason
set for 13.7.
Yeah, Jason said these two are both in 13.7 at the moment.
Yeah.
Is that okay? How much does that hold us up?
I think it's fine because I think we can probably go to Canary before we get into trouble. And I don't anticipate us going to Canary in the next, I guess before 13.7, I don't anticipate it. So I think it'll be fine.
What do you think about the third one? So B5, is that 5? Yeah, B5. So the proof of concept one is dependent on need. So we should have a think about whether we need that.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't think it's necessary if we use the community contribution of the wrapper thing. That I think that'll be sufficient for us. Yeah.
Does that stay within our unmodified Helm charts?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think so. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
So this is a single logger container watching a shared volume. Yeah.
This
I don't know,
it just sounds like a improvement that they are considering.
Yeah. I don't know whether we distribution doesn't really have a good story right now for log management. I mean, we're using Fluentd, Elasticsearch. I think they leave it pretty much up to, people who use the chart to do whatever they need to do. I think, yeah. So I think as far as unmodified Helm chart, I think we're going to be fine there. ASAP. Andrew is working on deciding environment tier, type stage shard labels. I think he's kind of waiting on us for this right now, and he just joined, so he can talk to this.
I haven't, pretty much since Jason made that suggestion last week, I've been kind of waiting on that, and I've been very busy, so I haven't, I've kind of just let it run. I'm presuming it's still in play. Is it, what's the state of it now?
This has to do with the deployment labels? Or what?
Yeah, the deployment tags, yeah. And
yeah, so
putting those tags onto the pods, which has got advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, so I did submit an MR for that. Did you see it, Scarbeck, or not? Maybe I lost this in my...
I believe I did see this, and I think it was still marked. Yeah, it was marked as a draft, so I didn't merge it.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think you were waiting on Andrew because you had a question there just to make sure it was legit.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a quick look. Let me add this to the.
Thanks. I mean, presume. I'll take a look at it, but obviously there's two things. There's one thing of allowing tags, deployment tags, and then the second one is coming up with like some sort of schema where we can say,
yeah,
this deployment tag is like the sidekick catch-all shard or whatever. But I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, this is starting to feel like really clunky. Like we have all these different labels
names would be better.
So if there's something we can do to clean it up and make it less clunky, a little bit more elegant, maybe we should.
Okay, so this is on the pod. Okay, yeah, and so that's deployment. Okay. So the only thing that is kind of worrying about this is that it's, there's like a lot of copy and paste and a lot of things that can go wrong, and when they go wrong we won't really know. They'll just sort of disappear, which, I mean, if this stuff was being more generated, then you could do stuff, but as it is, I don't know, like I don't know how much of this kind of this I would consider to be debt, I guess. And I don't know how much of it you guys have already got, and whether you feel it's manageable or whether you feel that it's kind of tipping over the edge.
Yeah. I don't know if we're tipping over, but
yeah,
we're close to the edge. At least I'm close to the edge.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like for this, we're setting a deployment pod label, which is actually not the name of the deployment, right? It's the name of the deployment without the release prefix.
And it needs to match between Canary and the main stage so that we can compare those two pods.
Yeah.
Like,
this is probably something we could add.
Pardon?
This is probably something we could add to our Helm chart. That way it's not an additional pod label configuration that we maintain.
Yes. Can we do that?
I'm sure we could.
I don't think so. Well, maybe we could, but it gets complicated with Sidekick, right? Because we have all of these shards which aren't defined by default in the chart.
I'm sure we could figure out a way to do it though.
So, are you saying that maybe we rename the deployment to be what we want
I'm
it
just
to
saying
be,
we could add a label to our Helm chart instead of a configuration item in here, but our Helm chart instead just adds another label based on the deployment name without the prefix of the namespace or the release name rather.
Or the release, yeah. Okay, we can take a look at that.
The other option is
I'm-
to go back to the original plan of using like the names and not using like the prefix of the on the names and bringing those in line.
Yeah.
I'm sure
I've
it's
kind
gotta
of
be
lost-
possible.
Andrew, I've kind of lost track of like what we're trying to solve. So
So
like,
what I need to do is to be able to like tell like each of those sidekick clusters from one another without using like magical regular expressions with like brackets, dash C and Y, question mark, and stuff like that. Like that's what I want. I want the label that like I want a way of
but
saying
we already have shard, right? Like we can use that. I guess we don't have shard for everything, and is that
we
the
don't
problem?
have start. Yeah, we need
I
something
see.
that's kind of like what I want is to put it in the metrics catalog. I don't know if you kind of roll back to that little demo I did probably 2 weeks ago, last week, where we just kind of define like these are the, you know, we've got these deployments or whatever we want to call them. We might even call them deployments, but like maybe let's just stick with deployments for now. You know, so
Yeah.
sidekick is sidekick catch-all, sidekick, you know,
see.
CPU bound, and then in our graphs, you know, when we click canary, we can see the canary version of it, and we click main, we see the main version of it, and you know the alerts get attributed to the canary stage correctly.
Gotcha.
That's
I
the
see.
goal, right?
So basically, we want a label that's unique per deployment, but is also the same between canary and the main stage.
Yeah,
That's what we want.
yeah. That's
And we
it.
and we don't have that now without creating another label. And I wonder whether we should, maybe calling it deployment is confusing if we're not going to actually change the name of the real deployment in Kubernetes, right? Like maybe we should, but I don't know what else we would call it.
I mean, it's
Workload?
kind of, to me, the question is, do we really, I mean, maybe it would be better to name the things consistently between the namespaces, right? And so maybe going back to the original name question is
Yeah.
the right thing to do here, and give them unique descriptive names. So like the sidekick catch-all deployment would be called like sidekick catch-all, and not like GitLab dash, you know.
Yeah. So maybe Scarbeck, is it worth looking into? Maybe we can't break backwards compatibility, but adding a flag that renames the deployment to not have the release prefix, because I think that solves a lot of our problems. Then then there's a one-to-one mapping.
I wonder
Yeah,
if that's possible, because I don't know if it's our Helm chart that does this or if it's a limitation in Helm, but I've always seen the deployment prefixed with the release name.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that's a
either
Helm
option
convention or not.
is yeah.
Okay, let me just write some notes down here. So at the same between canary and the main stage.
If we were to, let's say we discover that it's not possible to remove the release name from the deployment names. If we redid the canary environment such that the only thing that's different is the namespace, we'd still have the stage as canary, but that at least the names of the deployments would be the same. Would that be enough?
I think so. I didn't quite follow, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying, and I think that's enough. Yeah, as long as the
deployment name would still
the
be
two things
GitLab
are
hyphen.
the two kind of have got the same deployments in them,
Yeah.
but they're just in different namespaces.
Yeah.
So you're saying, sorry, Scarbeck, I was typing while you were talking, but we would rename the release for canary just to be GitLab, and then it'd be consistent.
Yeah, we would still install it inside of the canary namespace. That way we have
Right.
that logical separation from
Right.
everything else that's in the regional cluster.
That
Okay.
could work, definitely. Yeah.
I think that would entail completely redoing the canary environment for that cluster, but I don't think that's a huge deal.
Oh, because yeah, okay, because it'll be a kind of a disruptive change, but
It'd be a
for
brand
Canary, it's
new
less
release.
less
Yeah.
important than for main stage.
But like
That's
we
it.
use static IP addresses for a lot of things, so at least we wouldn't have to rebuild a lot of things. It would just be the naming convention used for that release. And I don't know what negative impact that might have. So we'd have to make sure that's compatible with the way we deploy things.
Okay.
So, okay, so it sounds like we have two questions here for the charts, and I'll open up an issue for that.
I was also wondering, so you mentioned that the Sidekick ones have a shard name that helps. Like, is it possible to get a shard name of some kind for everything, even though they're not shards?
Well,
Yeah.
I think we should do that anyway. So we've got that on GitLab VMs at the moment. So although there's a few things that don't, but generally every single thing has got a type, a tier, but tier we're throwing away, and a stage and a shard. And a lot of them are pretty boring. They're just default shard and main stage. But being able to, knowing that everything has got those dimensions makes like everything much simpler, because you don't have to say, well, give me the thing, you know, group everything by shard and then also deal with the things that don't have a shard. And, you know, it just makes a lot of the monitoring and observability stuff or actually kind of anything that uses labels simpler, because you get 2 groups instead of 3 groups, you know, the ungrouped
Okay,
stuff.
that's easy. We just need to settle on what to call the shard. Should it, I mean, to solve this other problem, we would overload shard to be like the deployment name by default, but maybe we should use a string default for the shard if we want to like say it's, or what,
Yeah,
what
I
do you
mean,
think?
shard is what we know. So the question there, Jav, is will we ever have 2 deployments in the same service that are not just kind of dealing with different shards? So obviously that's the pattern we've used in Sidekick.
Right.
With, you know, but is there any, like when Workhorse splits up into the 2 things, those don't make sense as shards. But I don't know if that's going to be, or will those both be in the same deployment?
The thing is that Sidekick already has, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Scarbeck, but doesn't, for every shard, we also have a deployment for Sidekick, right?
That's correct.
So we would have multiple, so for this work that we're doing to segment the, you know, web service, you would have a different deployment for every, you know, for every shard. So in essence, like, to me, it sounds like shard and deployment are pretty much the same for this purpose.
Yeah, but we have to have the names. Yeah, there's still the canary problem then. So we still have to bring those.
Yeah. But we could just say like shard is like the service.
Yeah. It's the same as
Not
shard
the
is
service
now,
name,
right?
but
So yeah. Oh, right. You're actually saying shard is a no, because we've got a service name, but we just need to be able to, yeah, we need a way of now the problem is actually stage. Sorry. Because we're struggling with this stuff. I suppose it's just naming is hard. But what about if we just focused on fixing the names the same? I kind of feel like that would be the best the first best next step. Is to just have those the same, and then I suspect that that'll be enough to kind of go forward with that.
All right, so let's get an issue open to figure out what we could do to rename the Canary deployment release to not GitLab CNY, and we'll see what we could go. And let's take it after that step. How's that sound? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
I think then there'll be one less unknown.
okay, that sounds good to me. And then it sounds like we still have to decide, like, you know, we have shard, stage, tier we said is going away. So shard, stage, and type. Do we need to add a deployment label here, or do we just keep shard and make that map to the deployment.
Let me give it a try once, like let's can we reassess? I feel like I'm kind of extending a bit beyond my mental grasp at the moment. So can we reassess once we've got the names and then reevaluate?
Okay.
Cool.
That sounds good. Okay, moving on. This issue is closed, so we can remove it for now. No downtime deployments. This proposed for 13.7. Oops, I never
yeah, we just need to add something in impact there. So yeah, I think that's the
upgrading the Nginx controller doesn't address this. Like, it still needs to be addressed. So I'll respond to Josh.
nice.
They're completely independent of each other.
Okay, great. Do we need to add in any other blockers in here? Have we got any other, like, how are we getting on, I suppose, with the Git SSH stuff? Do we need to do any, like, do we need anything at the moment to investigate that further?
I don't think so. I think, I mean, things could come up today, but I think we're still on track to probably have this rolled out to production this week. What do you think, Skarbek?
I am caught up on the situation, and your merge request that you put in, I merged that and it's completed going through. So it's just a matter of starting again and reevaluating as necessary, just to make sure that we're not causing issues again. So I think we're not blocked. It's just a matter of take 3, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
Andrew, were you following the Git SSH degradation issue?
Only in the lightest sense.
Only the lightest sense. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing we discovered is that we have this really useful HA proxy metric, which is the request duration for the SSH backend and HA proxy. This is what we alerted on, but we don't have it dashboarded anywhere. So I think one of us should.
We do.
We do.
Well,
I looked. I wasn't able to find it.
So I'm being a little bit dishonest, because what we have is we have an SLI that's based on that metric. And so if you go to the Git, where is it? GitLab load balancer. No. Oh wait, maybe I'm talking nonsense. Okay, maybe I'll take that back. So we have a load balancer SSH, SSL, SLI. Okay, let me go. I think I might be mis-selling things here. We should definitely put that in, because that'll be super cool.
Yeah, because I think this is like would have been a fantastic metric to track for the rollout. It's just something that we missed. It's probably, like, honestly, it's probably our best view right now into Git SSH, because the latencies that we're tracking right now are only to Rails, not for end-to-end Git SSH. But the load balancer gives us that.
So I know this isn't really, and this is a bit of an off topic, but as far as I understand, everything in GitLab shell now is a Go process, right?
Yeah, I think so, yes. It's no longer scripted.
So using like push gateway, because it's actually slightly horrific how little information we have about that interface, right? I mean, it's like, it makes me cringe. And we could potentially, one option would be to put a push gateway in and have those. I understand why we don't scrape them, but maybe push to like a push gateway or something.
Yeah, I guess so. I kind of would rather use MTail, but I'm not super fond of push gateway.
There's an issue inside of the GitLab shell issue tracker to handle metrics in some way. And it sounds like that team wants to change how that service operates. So instead of being an executable that's called anytime you make an SSH connection, they want to make a daemon that gets
it's
gets
called
automatically
Naughty.
available.
I've been banging on about that for about 3 years.
Yeah, if they go the
Yeah.
daemon route, we'll have a scrapable endpoint for metrics. So it all depends on how soon or how quickly they want to get
That's
through
going to
that
be
part.
a long-term project. That's not a short-term thing. But okay.
Yeah,
I'll
but
add that immediately after this. I'm really excited that that's there and I'm not scraping it.
yeah, I think
Do we need to do
I
something
think
in the short term?
Pardon me, Amy?
Do we need to do something in the short term if that the sort of metrics is a longer term project?
So on the short term, I'll add that HA proxy bucket, the histogram into the SLI. So that's like a very easy short-term win that we can add right now. And I'll do that straight up, pretty much do that after this.
cool.
Oh.
Okay. For GitLab pages, I think this is kind of moving forward. I think that we transitioned to object storage 100% for new projects. But we still have some work to do.
Nice. Yeah, I think they hope to start. Well, I think a lot of stuff's already in progress. I'll find out what we can expect to see during December because I think there will be some more stuff. So
yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for reviewing blockers.
awesome. Yes, so we have in progress Epic on the observability stuff. I think this was a bit of a kind of generic bucket. So it'd be interesting to see if we feel like we've got the right things in there and whether we kind of want to keep this one moving in progress.
Sure. Let's take a look.
Let's drop it into the agenda.
Observability and troubleshooting. So I'm still assigned to this one, which I'm marking blocked for now until we figure out the label stuff. I'm not sure what I want to do yet for this create tooling to drain clusters. We already have command line tooling for this. It's just that we don't have chat apps tooling. Remains to be seen, I guess.
Command line stuff like documented up somewhere so that if anyone needs it, like if SREs need it or someone, they can get it?
Good question.
Because that might just be the easy solution for this one. I guess I could. This one is like in the case of something go wrong, a few people know how to respond.
Yeah, I guess we could add it to. The thing is that I'm very nervous about giving advertising draining an entire cluster as an option because it's going to be catastrophic because we don't scale very fast. So this would only be very much an emergency type scenario. I could put it in the SRE onboarding checklist of things that you need to know, but I'll need to put a big warning there that we should never do this unless if we intend to cause degradation.
Yeah, I totally agree with the warning. Is the onboarding place, is that where people go? Like if you're an SRE and you were in an incident and you needed to do this, is that where you'd look?
Probably not. I mean, I think maybe you would. I think what people do, what SREs do, if they're in an incident and they need to know something, they just grep through the runbooks directory, and hopefully they find what they need. I mean, this is the idea here, and I shared this with Brent recently in our one-on-one that I told him we should really make sure all SREs go through this checklist of stuff to do before they go on call, just to be familiar with the Kubernetes stuff. I don't have, but yeah, so I could add instructions to drain here and then make sure SREs kind of understand, but
yeah, I think that makes sense. I think as long as if it's something that we can like a sort of title that when grepped for it would come up and say start with the big warning that like only use it in these circumstances because this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm probably going to add an issue to this epic shortly. There's a DNS issue that Craig Miskell was troubleshooting yesterday, and we don't have any logs unless we're on the cluster for any pods inside a Stackdriver, which is kind of unfortunate.
I mean, this kind of like also ties into, we need to get Kubernetes logs into Elasticsearch. And Mikkel was working on that, and I forget where we left it. Like, did we leave it to where we wanted to use a sync, or are we going to modify? I think we left it to where we want to use a sync from Stackdriver. So is it worth, maybe instead of putting the logs back into Stackdriver, maybe the solution here is just to create a new sync to go to PubSub.
Okay, I'll create an issue, and if you know of the issue that he was working on, we'll link them together so we can connect everything together.
I know that there is an issue specifically for this. I'll look. I'll try to find it. I don't know why. It should be linked to this epic. You already opened up an issue here, Skarbek, right?
No, that's not.
Oh no, that's that's the single folder one. Yeah, that's a different one. This is the one.
Which that we have, which is fine, but we don't have our
So
pod logs, which is problematic.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, we could create a catch-all index for all of the Kubernetes logs that
are not GitLab related.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll create an issue.
Yeah, this is something minor. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for the observability stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to look over, Amy?
I don't think so. Like, is that all stuff that we want to kind of focus on now? As I say, this kind of epic, we can make as big or as small as we want to.
Yeah, I think for the stuff I'd like to do before we move to the next thing, which is API, I think probably the revamp Kubernetes metrics, and let's figure out the tooling one, and then what Skarbek just brought up, which is the Kubernetes logs. But I think like maybe we can keep this open while we work on the API, or would you prefer, like, is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then we can just add more to it.
Nice.
Okay.
Great. And then
I have a quick question.
Okay, go for it.
I have an issue on my to-do list to figure out how to remove a lot of junk logging out of the GitLab shell pods before they make it into Elasticsearch. And I'm really struggling to like get some solid amount of time to work on this. This is also problematic because I don't know a lot about FluentD. Is it worth me continuing to work on this since distribution is soon to pick up this work for the logging thing inside of our own Helm chart? Or should I continue working on this because we don't know how long it's going to get for them to get it across the board?
What's causing the problem right now? Is it log volume, or is it just junk?
It's just the junk.
So we don't, like it's
as
not
far as I
causing any
know,
problems, right?
as far as I know, we're not blowing up the index sizes, but the amount of events that's coming up is pretty high. I don't know of us causing a problem, but I wanted to prevent it if we could. So
Is this something where you could ask Mikhail for some assistance?
probably.
I know he doesn't like being considered the logging guy, but like, because I know he's looking at FluentBit for other things already, right? So it might just be already something that he's kind of working on.
I could
And,
ask him. I
and
guess
it's
my
FluentBit,
primary,
it's the new coolness, right?
yeah, I guess my primary question is, should I continue working on this if this unified structured logging is coming at 13.7?
The unified structure logging only allows us to divert logs to different indexes. Does that solve the problem? Like, I guess we would just, what would we do with the because this is all SSHD logs, right? That you're
Yeah,
worried
it's
about?
just the fact that we're using tail for our
Yeah.
logs. We have unstructured and structured, as well as the blank lines, and the fact that tail logs out which log file it's outputting each and every single time it switches context. So there's just a lot
Yeah.
of garbage in there.
I think
I was
it's
kind
not
of
a high,
assuming the unified structured logging would kind of help us take care of stuff like this as well.
How far,
Yeah.
how away is 13.0? Should probably know that, but I don't.
How far away is 13?
13.7 just, that milestone just started 2 days ago.
Okay, so it's coming next month. Sorry, 13 seconds.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Really, it's
I'm-
worth waiting.
Should we ask distribution? Because, I mean, I guess it depends whether they're going to be dropping stuff, which sounds a bit strange maybe for logging, or whether it'll end up somewhere which we can disregard.
I could ask.
I'm really unclear. Like, I think, you know, wrapping logs in JSON is not going to make the problem go away. It's just we're just going to be able to send all the junk to a dedicated index, but we'll still have junk, right?
Yeah.
So,
But I guess if they implement this unified logging thing, that removes our need for FluentD, doesn't it? Or we'd still have our FluentD installation
No.
monitoring just a different location from all the logs.
No, FluentD won't change. FluentD Elasticsearch won't change. Like, we'll still need to
Okay.
monitor standard out from each container, and we'll still need to do things in FluentD like redacting tokens that the application is unable to redact, like requests to Nginx that contain the private token, things like that. Like there's definitely like we'll definitely need to keep FluentD. What it will allow us to do is send SSHD logs to a dedicated index. But if we're saying like the log volume isn't that bad anyway, then I would say it's lower priority and we can wait and not worry about it right now.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to work on this anymore.
Okay.
Do you have an issue somewhere though, Scabex, so we can keep track of that one?
Yeah.
Cool. Because it'll be a good one to revisit after 13.7.
Yeah, I'll drop a lengthy comment about what we discussed in this meeting and close it out.
Awesome. Cool. So then the other thing is, how do you want to progress with the API epic?
I think, like, I guess Scarbeck will just have to flip a coin on who's gonna do the first cut of like fleshing out the epic is in opening, like creating all the issues. Once we have that, then we'll start like we did before, which is going to be with the production readiness review, and you know, start spinning up the infrastructure for staging and all that stuff.
I'll gladly create the boilerplate issues inside of the epic. That's not a problem.
You know, like I like to think we're in really good shape because we've learned so many lessons from Git HTTPS, which also has Rails, you know, but who knows? Surprises we're going to run into. But I think a lot of it's going to be really just starting as a baseline. It's going to be Git HTTPS, Rails config, and we'll go from there.
Cool. So we roughly know what the first sort of set of issues we'd want to create are. Is that what
I
I'm
would
hearing?
say so. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we for building it out. Yeah, for sure. We can start fleshing that out now.
Awesome. And is that the plan to do that one? Is that the next piece of work, or would we want to look at the WebSocket stuff?
Oh, that's a good question. So
I only ask you because that's next on the next list.
yeah,
I was just wondering if they were.
that's a good point. I completely forgot about WebSockets. So yeah, I think next we should do WebSockets because it's smaller. So as soon as the chart stuff lands, then maybe that'll be our first test of it. Like we'll split off WebSockets. We'll move WebSockets as it is right now to the new pods that'll be servicing those requests, and then we can very carefully enable action cable, and hopefully we won't have any S2 incidents.
I wanna see a readiness review from the development team on that before.
Okay. Is that something, Maren, that they should write up themselves, or
Absolutely. No, not us.
Okay.
We should put that request to them and ask them to work on it, and we can help out, obviously, but we shouldn't put traffic until we get through. 2 incidents already is more than.
Yeah, actually another maybe the better way to go would be to do WebSockets with just action cable first, to completely isolate it, and God forbid we prevent someone from using the interactive terminal. But we could keep that on GitHTTPS for now. You
joke, but the 2 people that are using it are using it.
I know. It's their favorite feature.
Yeah. No, but
there are dozens of people that count on it, I'm sure.
Yeah. But isn't no, we disabled the the real-time merge request sidebar. Okay.
Yeah. So Amy, I think that's a good point. I think we should probably do that before API. Maybe we can do the readiness review in parallel, but we'll probably use that as the test of the new charts feature.
Jarv, is there going to be type equals WebSockets coming up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been decided, but I'm just checking. It doesn't make any sense for it to be type equals Git.
Yeah, I think it'll be type equals WebSockets.
Who can engage with the team to get them to start working on it?
I'm probably the best person to do that, and I can talk to them.
Awesome, thanks.
Awesome. Is there anything else anyone wants to go over? Awesome. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone.
Great.
Take care.
Yep. Ciao.